This is how Ramsay should have made his vegan steakhouse dinner. About 2 years ago, Gordon Ramsay released an eggplant steak dinner recipe that was fairly underwhelming. I tried it. I wasn't a huge fan of the way he prepared the eggplant. I felt like it was just too thick. It became kind of like a potato. But then recently, I got to visit Crossroads Kitchen in LA. I recreated their tomato egg yolk a little over 3 years ago. It was incredible, and this was the first time that I got to try it. Now, I was lucky and got to have dinner with the Merle O'Neill. Now, both Merle and my manager Colin both had the eggplant skirt steak, which looked amazing, and I got to take a little try of it, and it was really good. Immediately, I thought back to Gordon Ramsay's steak. So let's try to recreate it, the whole dish. I'm gonna recreate this picture. First, we need an eggplant. I wanted to get the biggest one they had, but I would say this is average size, which is totally fine. Now, we need to remove the skin for it to have an even consistency like a steak. I'm gonna use a blowtorch, but you can heat this over a gas flame or in like a broiler. Once it's torched, I'm gonna toss this into a bowl, a bag, or anything else that you could seal that will allow this to steam. While it's steaming, I'm going to prep the rub. This is gonna be like a steak rub. I'm gonna use a very similar rub to what Ramsay used on his steakhouse dinner. The flavors were pretty good. So we're just gonna start with some coriander seed, mustard seed, peppercorn, and dill seed. I'm gonna toss those into a hot pan and toast them up. You can hear them crackling, and it smells really good. Now, I'm gonna grind them in my pestle and mortar, but you can grind them however you like, even like a little spice grinder would work. And then we're gonna add some garlic powder, onion powder, smoked paprika, mushroom seasoning, which is my favorite, and some crushed red pepper. Now, I'm running out of room in my mortar, so I decided to move this over to a bowl, just because I couldn't mix this up. And then I'm gonna add a small pinch of lactic acid, along with a little bit of cornstarch. I think that's gonna help make this rub stick and give it that nice, kind of thicker texture on the outside when this cooks. That's the one thing I noticed with the Crossroads Kitchen steak, was that rub really was still there. So at this point, we're just gonna rub away the skin, or else it gets the hose again. No, I'm kidding. We're gonna rub the skin off the eggplant and slice it into 2 even planks. Now I'm gonna slice off the top roundness just so I can get like a steak-like, but you could just leave that on if you want. Now I know what you're saying, this is not skirt steak thickness, but it will be. Now I'm gonna score these steaks on each side, which is gonna help get the rub in and the flavor deeper, but it's also gonna help the texture. You're gonna rub the rub in and make sure that it's entirely coated, nice and thick, and then we're gonna place this on a baking sheet, cover it in a little olive oil and some red wine vinegar. We're gonna be using a lot through this recipe. And I also want just enough vinegar on the bottom of the baking dish. That's why I'm using a smaller baking dish here to keep the eggplant a little submerged. Now I have the oven preheated for 400 degrees. Let's toss these in and let them roast for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, I'm gonna flip these over, toss them back in, cover with a little more red wine vinegar and seasoning for another 30 minutes, which is gonna give us plenty of time to make some amazing side dishes and for me to tell you about my new sauce. Not steak sauce, this is my new favorite thing. I'm putting it on everything. I don't know if you've heard yet, I know I've been talking about it a lot lately, and that's because I'm really excited. I truly honestly am. This is a mix of miso paste, orange habanero, tomato paste, and raw sugar, along with a few other really simple ingredients to create a nice, savory, sweet, and spicy sauce that just goes good on anything that's kind of meaty. I consider it a steak sauce, but it's not a steak sauce like what you're used to. This is new. If you buy 2 2-packs, so buy a 2-pack for you and a 2-pack for a friend, you get free shipping. That's the best deal by far. Head over to notsteaksauce.com and pick up a few bottles today. I know you are going to love it. So far, everybody I know that's put this on their food has loved it. And we're back. So for a side dish, I'm going to make the creamiest mashed potatoes using some simple tricks. These will be 100% plant-based, and they're so incredibly good. But before that, let's make a really quick basting liquid for the steak. It's gonna be about a half of a cup of red wine vinegar and a half cup apple cider vinegar, along with a half stick vegan butter, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, and 1 tablespoon of my not steak sauce, along with a teaspoon of Marmite, Vegemite, or any sort of yeast extract. Now I'm gonna let this simmer and reduce by about half, and forget to add the rosemary until it's way too late. I wanted to add rosemary in the beginning. Now let's make these potatoes. First, we're going to peel about 1 pound of Yukon Gold potatoes and toss them into a pot of salted cold water. Once the pot is filled with potatoes, we're going to turn on the heat, bring it to a boil, reduce the heat to about a medium, cover, and let these cook for about 15 minutes. At this point, the steak should be done with its first roast. Oh, and I don't know if you see that little foil thing in the corner. That's actually garlic. I forgot to mention I tossed some garlic in the oven so I can roast it. That's really easy. You just chop the top off, cover it in a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt, and then tie it up in some foil and allow it to roast in the oven. But at this point, I'm going to reduce the heat to 300 degrees Fahrenheit and start basting with the basting liquid, toss them back in the oven, and let them cook for about another 15 minutes. While we're waiting on that and the potatoes, we can quickly throw together a fun one, a brandy cream sauce. I'm going to finally chop up a little onion and mushroom, toss those in an iron skillet or just a heavy pan that's not non-stick. You cannot use non-stick here. Something that can really take the heat. Once the onions and mushrooms are soft, I'm going to add about a 1/3 cup of brandy, allow that to kind of bubble up and then quickly light that with a torch or a long lighter or long match. That's going to burn off the alcohol. This is going to create a pretty big flame ball, so do this step extra carefully. If you're doing this over a gas stove, also be very careful when pouring in. It can get out of hand really quick. If you're not comfortable with that, just pour the brandy in and let the alcohol boil off on its own. Now we're going to add 1 cup of plant milk, a tablespoon of olive oil, a teaspoon of mushroom powder, and 1 teaspoon onion powder. I'm going to also add in just a little juice from the basting liquid and allow this to simmer down while stirring frequently until it becomes a brown thick sauce. It's going to come out really great. Now the potatoes are done. I'm going to pull these out, strain them in a wire mesh strainer, and then this is a trick to get really creamy potatoes. As long as your potatoes are cooked well enough, you could just push them with a spoon through the sieve or through the wire mesh strainer. This is going to create a buttery smooth potato with a super even consistency. Now I'm going to toss 2 tablespoons of vegan butter and 4 tablespoons of plant-based milk into the microwave, melt the butter, and heat the milk up. You don't want to pour cold milk over the potatoes. That's going to cause the starches in the potatoes to firm up really quickly, which is going to create lumps and kind of like just not like a gummy texture. If you use hot milk and hot cream, that's going to keep the potatoes nice and creamy. I'm going to stir this together with a whisk, cover this up. Now pretty much everything's done, but we still have one more thing, the asparagus hollandaise sauce that was on the menu. I'm not exactly sure what this is, but it was on the Crossroads menu, so this is a total guess. I'm going to kind of make a mixed concept of asparagus soup and hollandaise. So let's start with 4 stalks of white asparagus and blend those into a paste. I'm going to add about a half of a cup of oat milk and 1.5 tablespoons of vegan butter. I'm going to blend that all together. Then I'm going to add about a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, teaspoon lemon juice, a dash of garlic powder, and then I'm just going to blend this together. Now this came out a little bit milky, so I'm going to thicken it up with just a pinch of xanthan gum, which that worked out really great. So now we're going to plate this up exactly like the picture, and I'll be honest, I think I nailed it. The potatoes came out perfect, the brandy cream sauce is dead on, the hollandaise is nice and thick. This looks incredible. I think the steak is thin enough to where we're going to get a really nice texture from it, still like an eggplant, but a little bit better than just a big giant mashed potato. But let's see what Monica has to say. Cheers. Really good.
Yeah, this is great. No, it's not like a real steak.
No.
Yeah, it tastes good. Yeah, it's definitely got a good firm consistency.
Yeah, it's a nice veggie bite.
Yeah.
But it has like a nice meaty taste. Here, you gotta dip it into mushroom, burgundy sauce.
That's great. It's wonderful. I love this sauce. That really makes it steaky.
Why don't you try this hollandaise?
Okay.
Nice and creamy.
That's really good too. Let me give that a try one more time.
Yeah, I'm gonna just kind of...
That's really good. I prefer the mushroom.
Yeah, the brandy sauce. Said
Is this brandy?
Yeah, that's a brandy mushroom sauce.
I prefer it. But the hollandaise is good too. But this is great. I love this. And I like all these sauces on it. And I like this sauce on everything. I can even dip it in the mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
I love everything that you did here. I mean, everything needs some not steak sauce, I think.
Yeah.
A little bit out there. I mean, that's really good. Everything is great with this sauce. Like, it just makes everything, like, even better than it is.
Yeah, thanks, baby.
It's just delicious. All the flavors together and separate. I like that. Every bite is a little different. Some is with the potato and the sauce, the hollandaise, or the hollandaise and the potato. Like, I just like that it's a very diverse dinner for me.
If you've been to the Crossroads kitchen and you've had this steak, let me know. Do you think I was close? I think I was pretty close. I think this is pretty close. Oh, thanks, baby.
Yeah, love it.